We're back on Sportscenter. They were slugging it out in South Brazil tonight, UFC 198, a potentially big night for the future of women's fighting. We're joined now by our pal Chael Sonnen, the UFC debut for former Strikeforce champ Cris Cyborg. You called her something of a mythical figure, and boy, oh boy, was it a quick fight. If you looked away, it was over. Leslie Smith dominated in less than 90 seconds, but you didn't necessarily like the ending of the fight. What do you mean by that?
Well, look, this was no fault of the competitors. They went and did their job. The referee did what we call an early stoppage. There was no historical, justifiable, reputable placement for this referee to place this decision. And outside of us commenting on SportsCenter, there will be no form of discipline done, so we might as well not even mention it. He'll be back in the ring next week with no explanation given, and that's just the reality.
All right.
This was terrible. You know, I'm upset about this. This was terrible. They came out there to fight. One girl went down. She never stopped moving. The rule book clearly says she has to stop moving or be in danger, and the referee stopped it. They might as well run out and break you and I up right now. It was that ridiculous.
But let me play devil's advocate here. I mean, this is potentially the biggest name in the sport outside of Ronda Rousey. Cris Cyborg making her debut. Leslie Smith took a lot of punches, Chael. I mean, Cyborg landed 66% of her punches in 90 seconds here. And it's not good for business to see her lose, so doesn't this necessarily help business by having it be a 90-second knockout?
I suppose you make a fair point. Now, I'm not coming from that perspective. I'm coming as a sportsman where we have a contested, licensed set of rules, and we have to have a referee that historically has to go by what has been done in the past. This has never been. I've never seen a stoppage this early before. Look, let me get off of that and focus on Cyborg. She did her job. She came out there. She dealt with the pressure. She made a weight class she had never made before. Now, they made a special weight class for her, so she won't actually get a ranking because of this match. It's a 140-pound fight. They don't contest 145-pound divisions. They did this just for her. She dealt with the pressure. She walked out there. She did what she needed to do. As a fan, I can't help but be a little frustrated the referee would stop that, and no provocation will be done in the future.
Well, we talked about off air here the number of pounds she had to drop, something along the lines of 30 just to make weight for this fight. Why not have it be at a different, I know there's no weight class right now, but why not have it set at a different weight class that another fighter could get to?
Sure, so that's where they're stuck with Cyborg. They wanted to bring her down, and the long-term play was to put her in with Ronda Rousey. Now, Ronda got upset by Holly Holm, but that was the initial plan. When they brought Cyborg in, she said, look, I can't make 135. So the promoters came forward, Dana White, Lorenzo Fertitta said, how about we do 140? We'll find a 135-pound athlete to bump up, give you that weight class, and let's see if we can get you on the roster. That's what happened here. Cyborg had a very hard time making the weight, but the bottom line is she did make it. Can she come down 5 more pounds? I don't know. I think we'll have to see that. But after this performance, she'll at least be getting asked to.
All right, we're going to probably, I mean, the sport is going to have to see her a little bit more. We can't just throw her in with maybe the best. I know she's not the champion right now, but maybe the best in Ronda Rousey. So at what point in the future might we see or will we see a showdown between Cyborg and Ronda Rousey?
Well, she brings this referee with her. She'll win all of her fights in 90 seconds. I don't think you're as upset as I am about this referee. I got to move on, don't I? Okay, listen, I think a Cyborg-Ronda Rousey fight is possible. Ronda has always made 135 pounds, but she's also big for the weight class. She might be looking for something other than a title fight herself. She might be looking back to come back into a co-main event, a big fight with Cyborg, make it at 145, no belt on the line, which means she doesn't have to go 5 rounds. That might be a little bit intriguing to Ronda as she's out making some movies. I'm being a little hypothetical here, but I think it's possible. This is how big matches are made, and those two do have some bad blood, and that always, to your point, is good for business.
The main event tonight, what are you looking forward to? Here, she landed 66% of her punches in this fight before it was stopped. As my pal Chael Sonnen said, in controversial fashion, but that's a conversation for another time. Chael Sonnen, Gilbert Melendez joining us now. The heavyweight championship on the line tonight, and we have ourselves a new UFC heavyweight champion, Stipe Miocic. The victory over Fabricio Werdum in Brazil. It's a fight that was just ended about 2-3 minutes ago. A knockout, impressive performance by Miocic. How did it all go down, Chael?
All right, listen, Stipe did everything right. He came right at him. He kept pumping that jab in his face, and it was landing. Werdum was dodging. He was coming through, getting some good kicks in. Stipe was actually backpedaling at one point. He put the brakes on, and he just landed a huge right hand. It shut Werdum off. What we need to talk about, though, because I will concede that Stipe caught him, what we need to talk about was those brief couple minutes before it happened. Stipe was doing well. He was following a blueprint, and if it went to the scorecards, he was probably getting the best of him.
So we now see a new champion, Gilbert, who goes into the native country of Werdum and wins a fight on his turf. What's it like for a Cleveland guy, by the way, to win the heavyweight championship on someone else's turf.
That's a huge for him. And, you know, Chael was mentioned earlier, and by the way, he picked the winner, but he did mention how Stipe does so great on the road. He goes on the road, and he does a great job. And I felt like Werdum was a little less focused in this fight, and you can see in the cage that he had a lot of pressure on him. And I think it worked to Stipe's advantage in this position right here. So that's a great win for him and a great championship. Happy for Cleveland.
You say less focused. What do you mean by that?
Well, less focused as there's pressure. He's smiling on the way out. He's having fun. Sometimes that's good, but this is serious stuff. You got to stay as focused as possible. And again, he's in front of 45,000 people in Brazil, his hometown. Everything to lose, and Stipe with everything to gain. And he went out there and took control with great boxing and had control of that fight.
Chael, what kind of staying power now does Miocic have as the heavyweight champion? Is this a long reign we're looking at here?
Listen, Vince McMahon thought about buying the UFC a number of years ago, and he said, I can't get into mixed martial arts because I can't build a star when I can't control the outcome. Well, the UFC has seen that. Now, they have plenty of stars. They just broke records with the tennis tonight, but to Vince McMahon's point, when that belt is constantly changing hands, it's called starting and stopping in the wrestling business. How do you get somebody going? How do you get momentum behind them? I don't fully know the answer. The brand is doing well. The heavyweight division needs somebody that can stick around, to your point. But listen, it's loaded. Cain Velasquez is waiting for him. Verdum's going to be begging for a rematch at the press conference in just a moment. I don't know. I don't know if he can hold on. He needs to enjoy the moment.
Look, it's one of the, to your point, it's one of the problems in boxing right now. The heavyweight division, there are a lot of foreign fighters who we don't necessarily have a chance to know as often. There's not as much quality in the heavyweight division as there's been in the past. We like to see the big guys slug at it and have at it. Chael mentioned some fights. What's the fight that you'd like to see up next here for Miocic?
Well, you know, Miocic he's lost, I think, really to Steven Struve before. He's lost to some fighters, and there's all these heavyweights out there. Cain Velasquez being one of them, two who lost the title to Werdum, and he's fighting Travis Brown on UFC 200 July 9th, and if he's victorious there, I bet he'll get the title shot. But again, I give credit to the UFC and Dana White for always making our fighters, the UFC heavyweight champ, every champion, fight the #1 contender. You don't get any easy fights out here. You don't get to take one championship fight, 3 easy fights, and let's fight a hard guy. Boxing does that at times. MMA, you go straight to the top and you have a tough fight every time, and that's why the title changes so fast.
Well, we're going to hear from Miocic coming up here in just a minute here on Sportscenter, but we want to talk about one of the earlier fights on the undercard, the debut of Cris Cyborg here. We talked a little bit about the stoppage for the referee. For the viewers who are just joining us here right now, you didn't like the end of that fight. Why was that?
Boo! Listen, that's for the referee. Cris Cyborg did a great job. She dealt with a lot of pressure. She walked out there. She fought her fight. She was a little tentative, but she found some good body shots. She got the fight to the ground. Listen, there's no historical or reputable reason that referee could stop that fight. He cannot point back to any fight through history and go, well, yeah, this is kind of how we do it. No, they don't. This was unprecedented. The reason I'm upset about it is because nothing will be done. He will give it a plane ticket, and he will be in the octagon judging somebody else's future by next Saturday, and that upsets me.
Do you agree?
I do agree with him. You know, she's out there, and she could have kept fighting. And what also got me upset was the following bout was Jacare versus Vitor Belfort. And Jacare was in the mount, raining punches down on Vitor for a good 30-40 seconds. The ref didn't step in, and he should have stepped in a little bit earlier on that fight. So to let Leslie Smith not go out on her shield and fight and really let the fight have its real honest outcome, I'm upset about that.
Well, it's not necessarily the ending that we wanted to see, but it certainly is one heck of a beginning for a fighter who a lot of people think could change the women's game in the UFC. A tremendous debut for Cris Cyborg, a first-round TKO. Meantime, Stipe Miocic, the new UFC heavyweight champion. Here are his thoughts after the big win in Brazil moments ago.
Honestly, Fabricio, man, that dude's tough. He had me guessing, doing some different stuff, and you know, train hard, man. Caught with a good right hand and went down. Thank God.
And talk to us about this moment right here. Your coaches, your families, you jumped over the octagon. How much they all mean to you?
Como é esse momento aqui com seus treinadores, sua família, todo mundo?
This is the only reason I won the title, not me. It's everyone. Her, my fiance, my coaches. They put time and effort in. They went out of the day. They left their families to come with me. They put their time and effort in me. They wasted the money on me. Guess what? I think it was damn worth it, though, wasn't it?
Essa é a razão pela qual eu venci esse título. Não foi por mim, foi por todos eles que levaram tempo, dinheiro e se afastaram da família para estar aqui comigo hoje à noite.
Oh, congratulations, a new champion, Stipe Miocic.
Cleveland, we got champion, baby. What's up, Croatia? We got champion.
There you go. They've been waiting a long time for it, and perfect timing on a night that we have the Believeland 30 for 30 prior to the start of our show here on SportsCenter. So Cleveland does get a champion, Stipe Miocic, the new heavyweight champion here. And so, again, we talk about Fabricio Werdum losing on his home turf in Brazil. Does he get a rematch? What's next?
History says that he might. They love to do rematches, particularly when there's a surprise ending. Now, Stipe was the underdog, but look, this big right hand that shut off the lights of Werdum, it's kind of hard to not think, look, let's run this one back and just make sure we got it right the first time. So perhaps he does.
Gilbert?
Well, there's Cain Velasquez fighting Travis Brown, who is the guy who I believe is the #1 contender. But there's also a guy named JDS, Junior Dos Santos, who actually beat Miocic in a big war. And he just beat Ben Rothwell, who was on his way to be the #1 contender as well. So there's some two heavyweights out there. I would say Cain Velasquez or JDS, in my opinion.
All right, short and sweet tonight in two of the big bouts, right? They only go about 90 seconds, but you get your money's worth if you're into the Fast and Furious, TKO, and the knockout. Great stuff. Chael Sonnen, Gilbert Melendez hanging with us tonight on SportsCenter.